All right, we do have some breaking news right now from Washington on the Obama administration's efforts to sell the president's health care law to the American people. The Associated Press now issuing a new report saying that the nation's librarians are being recruited to help sign people up. Up to 17,000 of your local libraries expected to be part of this effort. This comes just days after we learned that Hollywood, the NFL, the NBA, and now school kids are being recruited to help promote this law. A spokeswoman for the Los Angeles School District saying, quote, teens are part of a pilot program to test whether young people can be trained as messengers to deliver outreach and limited education to family and friends in and around their homes. So let's talk about it. Leslie Marshall's here, syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Chris Plant is host of The Chris Plant Show. Welcome to you both. Chris, you got to get the word out. So, you know, what's wrong with this, right?
Yeah, what's wrong with this? When it was originally implemented in North Korea, I think it was a better idea. Look, the NFL and the NBA, I've got some free PR advice for them. Do not latch on to unpopular government programs and put yourself in the middle of this kind of state versus the people argument. I think it's a bad PR move on their part. The librarians, creepy little East German, but using the children in a $37 million program in California to propagandize children in our school system with the plan of sending them home to convince their parents to come around to the point of view of the federal government on an unpopular program is sick. It's crazy. I mean, it's third world banana republic nuttiness.
It is,
and the fact that we're even discussing it.
It's very weird. I mean, when you think about, you know, if your child comes home from school, and, you know, it's one thing if they say, oh, you're supposed to, you know, put all your fire out at the campground before we close up camp, you know, for the night, or something sort of everyone can agree on that, you know, it's like a good message to send home and to try to get your family on board for. But Leslie, you know, let's look at the poll on this. 58% of those polled would like to repeal this program. Or keep some of it, but they want to change the program as it exists. So what do you think?
Well, first of all, I live in California where it will be 104, and there is a cocktail and pool party at my house tomorrow, by the way, for those high temps. But it's girls only, Chris. And Chris, you know what? The way you presented it, it is crazy in East German, but that's not the way I see it here in California, living in the LA Unified School District, where my children go to school. In Los Angeles, the plan is definitely much more popular than on a national level, and here in the state of California, but specifically in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area, in the Unified School District here in LA. The way there's a big difference between selling and informing. You have to remember the population of the Unified School District here in Los Angeles. A lot of these students are first-generation Americans. Many of their parents either, if they don't speak English or have English as a first language, they may be able to speak it but not read it or write it. What they're trying to do is educate and to have their parents understand so that these people will be insured. And as the wife of an orthopedic surgeon, he can tell you it is essential if we're going to be with health for our children and our families in a preventative mindset that everybody have insurance, and it is mandated according to this plan.
To look at this, Chris, but you know, I mean, $37 million. $37 million for this program, and then it goes on to explain how they're going to keep tabs on it, and if people aren't informing the way they're supposed to be informing, or the money's being misused, heaven forbid, because that would never happen as we look across, you know, a number of government organizations, then they're going to step in and make sure the program's being well run. I mean, you know, the public school system, do we need to spend time on this when we have such dismal reading and math numbers in California, for starters? And number two, is it right to spend the taxpayers' money in this way when half of them don't even agree with the program, Chris?
Well, and it's, as Leslie said, in California, it's very popular. So they're only going to have to spend $37 million there to brainwash children, to brainwash their parents. This is not about health care. This is about government. This is about the Obama administration. This is about going too far. The word overreach has been way overused lately. This is not America. This is not American. This is insidious. This is disturbing. And Leslie, if it were a Republican administration, propagandizing children to go home and tell their parents to support the invasion of Iraq or to support the doing away with the Department of Education or whatever the Republican agenda point was, I can assure you, you wouldn't be nearly as sanguine about all of this as you're pretending nobly, I think, to be right now.
What do you think about that? Because it is a controversial program, and it's a decision of this administration. You know, I mean, that raises the very good question about spending the money to try to get kids to convince their parents that it's okay.
Again, I think that you need to look at the population. When you're looking in Los Angeles and you're looking at the demographics of the student body here, what you're asking is for you to present information and educate your parents on something that either A, they're not going to be able to understand because they don't speak the language, or B, they're frightened of. Now, I know that you guys love to, you know, talk about and play the clip, Chris, you and your buddies over there on the right, of Nancy Pelosi and reading it. Now, come on, politicians left and right, whether they voted for it or not, if they didn't read it, do you really think that these parents are here in Los Angeles and through other parts of the United States, quite frankly? And this is not, by the way, these pilot programs, although this is about Obamacare, pilot programs have been used by the government in the past, and I know it freaks people out to hear teens, but Chris, you know, I love you, but let's put the grassy knoll aside. This is not the government saying to kids, you know, we want them to love the federal government.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Beyond the politics of what we're talking about, just the fact that there's been an acknowledgement in the administration that this is going to be very tricky to implement, and they really don't sound so sanguine about how well it's going to go. So then on top of that, you look at how much money they're going to have to spend just to get the message across. Even if you're on board with it, it starts to look unwieldy and problematic to a lot of folks, I think. But we got to go. Leslie, thank you very much. Chris, great to have you here.
Okay, thank you.
Good to
see
you
guys.
guys.